Charging battery. Mic on.
Testing 1 2 audio check. All right, we've got a good microphone. We are just about ready to start streaming this evening.
Mic off. Mic on. Mic off. Mic on.
Wow, this is what happens when you have ADHD and your attention wanders. You totally miss the fact that your countdown is done. Wow, this is what happens when you have ADHD and your attention wanders. You totally miss the fact that your countdown is done. So, all right. Well, hello, adventurers. Of which I have none tonight, but that's okay. I'm not going to world build tonight because I've beaten that to death with extra episodes, and there's a lot going on in the background, homework-wise, shall we call it, that I'm not going to world build tonight. What I am going to do tonight is kind of a intro to D&D for new or first-time players, as well as playing online with Fantasy Grounds Unity. So, all that being said, I've went ahead and opened up Fantasy Grounds Unity. I'm in a player's view right now, which is typically how I stream, because I don't want anybody, alerting players to spoilers by things they would see on the DM screen in the middle of a game. So, oh yeah, happy Saturday. It's soggy in East Texas. It's rained off and on all day. I've managed to get wet several times and dry off several times, so it's been a fun one. So, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons 5e, is gaining in popularity more and more, it seems like, the last few years. It was actually, the 5th edition came out in 2014, so it's been around 10 years now. The actual game itself has been around since 1974, which means 2024 will be D&D's 50th anniversary. It's been through a couple major changes over the years. It was originally published by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, who formed TSR. And then in the mid-90s-ish, TSR sold the product to Wizards of the Coast, and then somewhere in the 2000s, Wizards of the Coast got bought out by Hasbro, who now owns, basically Wizards and the D&D brand. All that's history. Let's talk about the future. D&D 1, or what is basically going to be 6th edition, is due out this year. There's been some controversy surrounding it because of some changes that Hasbro wanted to introduce into the licensing last year about this time. That's turned into a little bit of a tempest in a teapot. So I think most of that has kind of settled down, but we'll see. Anticipating seeing the new release, but I'm not going to go out and buy all brand new stuff just yet. I've got a heavy investment in 5e, so I'm not going to go race out and spend big bucks on D&D 1 D&D 6th edition, whatever they decide to call it on product release. The one thing I am excited about that I want to see is they are releasing their own virtual tabletop for virtual play. It's been in closed beta for like 2 years now. And we've seen some kind of like teaser trailers and promotional stuff on the internet. You can go look for it on YouTube. It looks really cool. It has a 3D interface, like you're playing almost like something based on the Unreal Engine, which I think it is. It's either based on the Unity engine or Unreal. I want to say it's based on Unreal, which would bring some really cool capabilities to the game in an online play environment. But be that as it may, it's not here now, and I've been playing online for a couple of years now with Fantasy Grounds. There are other tools out there, other virtual tabletops. You'll hear me use the term VTT. That's abbreviation for virtual tabletop. You have Roll20, you have Foundry, you have Owlbear Rodeo. There's many, many, many out there. All have pretty much the a similar base feature set, and some have some enhancements over others. For example, Roll20 integrates voice and video chat, whereas Fantasy Grounds Unity and Fantasy Grounds Classic do not. So I typically have a Discord back channel running for my games, and that handles voice between us, DM and players, as well as feeds to the stream. And then there's things in Fantasy Grounds Unity, such as there's a lot of automation for actions that FGU does that Roll20 doesn't. So, anyways, long story short, I've chosen Fantasy Grounds Unity as my playing platform simply because I like the features it brings to the table. I find that it automates a lot of the tedium of being a dungeon master. It definitely smooths things out in terms of play dynamics, and honestly, I can tell you that playing face to face versus playing in FGU, typically FGU games go faster because of a lot of the automation. So a face to face game, when me and the guys meet, might run 3.5, 4.5, 5 hours on a Saturday night, whereas the same game played online in FGU might run 3 or 3.5. I think we did our longest stream of like 4.5 hours a couple weeks ago. So I want to give you all a quick tour of FGU as a player, and also kind of talk about what the start of the game looks like the first time set up, and introduction that I go through with new players that are new to the game as well as new to Fantasy Grounds, what they call a session 0, which is basically the startup before beginning an adventuring career, as we call it, or a campaign. Dungeons and Dragons has been through a lot of revisions, but the D20 rule set has been made public domain. Well, what they call the system reference document. It's not really public domain. I want to say it's got like a copyright with attribution, Creative Commons, so you can use parts of it without having to pay a royalty. And so the D&D for first-time players, tone and setting for the game. This is a lighthearted game. We do this for fun. Our setting is high fantasy. You have humans, you have orcs, you have dwarves, elves, you have things that go bump in the night. You have magic. You have, I won't call it technology, we'll call it a little bit of science, because I do allow firearms in a very limited fashion to be wielded by artificers, which is a character class, and we'll discuss what character classes are. And so, but all in all, this is meant to be fun. It's a lot of work as a DM, but I do it out of the joy of the game. And I know my players, every time we play, they always thank me, and I appreciate the gratitude that they show me as a DM and the things they do, whether it be face-to-face or online. We do a little bit of both. And as a matter of fact, you will see us streaming a live game at some point, probably in the next month or so, I would guess. We've been playing together as a group for a little over a year now, almost a year and a half. And it's all a fun, relaxing thing to do. Yeah, there can be some tension because of encounters and situations in the game, but it's all meant to be fun. So that's kind of our tone and setting. We make it lighthearted, we make it pithy, and we move on. The three pillars of Dungeons and Dragons, the three main things that it is all about: exploration, adventure. That's one thing we'll call exploration, and adventure is kind of one umbrella. The second is role playing. You're playing a character, a fantasy character of your creation, be it a fighter, a barbarian, a cleric. And I know you can hear screaming dogs in the background. They're singing. You're gonna have to excuse me for a second while I mute my mic to yell.
Mic off. Mic on.
Okay, much better. Let's see how long the peace lasts. Paladins, kind of the holy warriors. Think the Knights Templar is a good example. Warlocks, sorcerers, rogues, rangers. You got all kinds of character classes that you can choose from for a career as an adventurer. But we role play those roles. You step into that role of Gandalf the Grey, or Merlin the Wizard, or Conan the Barbarian. Whoever you want to be your role model for playing the game. So, role playing is a big feature of it, and I encourage my players to think in terms of character. There's this thing called metagaming, where a player has a knowledge of a game, of something in the game that their character wouldn't, and I'm kind of hard on metagaming at the table. Don't metagame with me. I will shut you down in a heartbeat. You may know that, but there's no way your character knows that. So, and then of course the third pillar is combat encounters, which is where all the fun begins. Combat is turn-based. Everybody gets a turn, you and the baddies. And there's usually a player, what they call an initiative order or a combat order, and we play that through. And so those are the three pillars. Again, that's exploration and adventure, all under one umbrella, role playing, and then combat. I've played this game since I was in high school in the 80s, and one of the cool things is seeing people's different play styles. You've got your people that they are here for the combat. They are your hack and slash. And then you've got your folks that are basically in the win versus lose mindset. They're calculating what they can do in their head to get from point A to point B as quickly and efficiently as possible. You've got your folks that like to role play. And then you've got, and not everybody sticks to one particular type of play. It's common for players to switch play styles, and here the dogs go again.
Mic off. Mic on.
During the course of a game, I think I'm going to have to get the spray bottle out or shut my office door. I think we're going to shut my office door. Y'all are obnoxious. Y'all have never been this loud while I've been streaming. These doors in this house are paper thin, so that's probably not much of a deterrent, but we shall try it and see what happens. So different play styles at the table. Everybody kind of and then the girl just bulldozed my door open, and here comes get out of here. Different play styles at the table, and different personalities. It makes for a great game. I can tell you, I had a game where one of my players spent 2 hours on role playing a shopping expedition to re-equip their party. I know a couple of my other players were getting a little bored, so we had to move it into some combat and do some other things to keep everybody engaged. As far as my campaign and sessions, right now we are playing in the Forgotten Realms, but I have been world building a homebrew D&D world for us to play in, so we're getting ready to go live with that, and you guys will get to see it here first on the stream, so that's coming. It is your classic D&D setting where a lot of fantasy novels have been birthed from in the last 50 years. Sometimes we'll play in other settings as well, but we mainly play in the Forgotten Realms or the world of Faerun, and that's where they're at right now. They're adventuring in Chult, playing the Tomb of Annihilation, which is a published campaign. So you'll see some of that tonight as well. And that kind of wraps up the intro. As far as playing, my big thing is, and I probably need to share this over with y'all. Let's do that. I've kind of put this together. So first time I launched Fantasy Grounds campaign setup. Well, I'm not DMing today, I'm playing. So we're just going to shut this off. I'm not going to load any modules because I'm connected to a server. And then it goes straight to character selection. Well, I have a 5th level fighter on my server that I play with periodically as a guinea pig. So I'm going to select him tonight. You see him get added to the top here. And then here's his character sheet. But let's kind of talk where we're at this evening. Session 0, getting started. Alright, so we've covered the intro stuff. We kind of have a unwritten social agreement with each other when we're playing. First is that we're respectful of one another. There are going to be times in the excitement of a battle encounter or things like that, somebody will talk over somebody, and it happens. But we try not to do that in normal play. Everybody kind of gives each other a time to complete their actions, get them resolved before the next player moves on. And I, as the DM, want to make sure that everybody participates. Gets that chance to get in there and to play. Scheduling wise, we play every 2 weeks on Saturdays. So this is the opposite week, and that's why I'm doing a session 0 tonight for the stream. We'll play next week. Now, I am putting together a second player group for anybody interested. I'm looking for 5 to 7 players. Right now, I already have 3 committed, so I'm halfway there. And those folks will be playing on the opposite Saturday, I think. It might be a different night of the week, but I'm hoping for Saturday just because it's the best night for me to do this. But, that'll be a group decision. That won't be a Brian decision. So, electronics use. Now, some of these rules pertain when we're playing face-to-face versus online. Obviously, I'm not the internet police. I'm not going to reach out over the internet and whack your knuckles because you're on your cell phone texting or doing something else while we're in the middle of a game. Electronics use isn't forbidden. I couldn't forbid it if I wanted to, and I don't want to. We use it a lot internally for play as well. We use D&D Beyond when we're playing live to track our characters and encounters. It makes the game go smoother. As far as personal use, do what you want as long as you're focused when it's your turn, and you'll know when your turn's coming based on the initiative order in a combat encounter. So we go from there. As long as you're focused when it's your turn, I'm good. If you've got something going on that you need to be able to multitask and be on your device at the same time, I'm not going to hold it against you. Food and refreshments mainly applies when we play face to face. We tend to all bring a little bit of food and fix stuff, and we eat and drink and goof and carry on. So same for game location. Typically I host here at the house. Hours typically in the evenings, obviously on the weekends. Length of session varies. Typically we start around 4 in the afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon, and we'll play till about 9 to 10 o'clock at night. Online games are shorter because they go quicker because of the automation of the technology. But when we're streaming a game live, you're typically looking at probably a 2.5 hour game minimum. It could go as long as 4 hours. One important thing, it's kind of our unspoken social agreement, is dealing with difficult situations, or should I say sensitive situations in game. And that is, we've basically got some safety tools in place. with online play, my players can do a whisper command, and only I can see it, or they're whispering to me. So if we're dealing with something that's sensitive, they know to let me know, and we'll change course. Nice thing about this is we can fast forward, we can rewind, we can retcon, we can pause. But if we get into an area somebody's uncomfortable with, we will address that discreetly without causing it to be a major dramatic scene. There are some settings in particular that can be sensitive. The Curse of Strahd and the Ravenloft campaigns deal with vampirism, and usually there is quite a bit of sexual innuendo and content in those type of settings, and so there could be some safety issues there. There could be issues with players losing characters in a fight. I can tell you that when my dad passed, and we weren't playing at the time, it's probably a good thing, because I wouldn't have handled character death any better than I handled real life death at that point. So we have some safety tools built in, and then when I know we're approaching something somebody may be sensitive to, I'll kind of check in with people privately via direct message, and check in to make sure there's no hurt feelings, or nobody feeling like awkward about a situation. House rules, we do this to have fun, so there's a lot of goofing and humor involved. It gets worse the longer we play, and that's how I know it's probably getting close to time to wrap up. When we start devolving into SpongeBob SquarePants or Monty Python jokes, it's probably time for me to start wrapping up the game for the evening as a DM. Character death, that comes back to the safety discussion. I can tell you that I try not to kill characters, but actions have consequences. Otherwise, if there's no risk, there's no reward in the game. So, yeah, I've killed characters for people. Well, not for them. I killed them as a result of their choices. But those things happen. So we handle it. If it's sensitive, we handle it a different way. Otherwise, we treat it like we would in any high fantasy game. We're going to try to resurrect that player and bring them back, unless it's a case of the players already told me in advance they want to go out with a bang because they want to roll up a new character. Then that's a different situation. PvP combat, I tend to discourage it. Nothing will disrupt the camaraderie at the table more than PvP combat with two players that have beef. That if they don't have beef with one another, chances are by the end of PvP they're going to. So I tend to avoid allowing situations of PvP combat. Now, there are some games that I've played in that it's like a last man standing type game. That's a different type thing. And if I'm hosting a game of that type, and I can see it happening, especially with this rowdy group I play with, then that's a different game. That's a different game entirely. Face-to-face play, we do maps and miniatures. Since we're playing in a virtual tabletop, I drop maps in at will into the game as we're playing. So I'll give you a good example. I'm going to share a map over. And then maybe an image from Tomb of Annihilation. Let's see, maps, Tomb of Annihilation. Let's do some artwork first. I love this. This is classic Chult at its finest. It is the dinosaur races. So, one of your intros in Port Nyanzaru is the fact that they have dinosaur races in the city, which, how awesome is that? You want to barrel down a narrow city street riding a Triceratops, and your buddy's riding Blue the Velociraptor. And I can tell you that's wild, because sometimes those dinosaurs are barely controlled. So it can get really kind of fun and crazy in that setting. But that's an example of some of the things I will share electronically. And then let's see, let's get an actual map from Tomb of Annihilation. My boys are getting ready to get into Camp Righteous. And if I can move it, let's see, share with players. And right now there's nobody on the map. There's no tokens. So the daylight is, it's basically based on player position. So I would have to drop somebody on the map to have some light. And enable, disable lighting. So there's with lighting turned off. And so he would, based on his field of view, and I don't have him in there. Can I drop me on there since I'm in this? Now let's turn lighting off. It won't let me. Oh yeah, it just turns it off completely. Sometimes we have some technical malfunction. But you can see I have my players' tokens on the map. I have me, and I'm moving 10 foot there, and then we can move Felonious. Oh, it won't let me move Felonious because he's not me. But I can say, okay, I want to cancel that move, and instead of going that way, I want to go, my move limit is 30 feet. So in my turn, I want to move to here, which is the entrance of the man in the alligator statue, the man with alligator riding on his back. And so we play extensively, with maps in our game, and that's part of the fun. Is theater of the mind is good. Back in the day, that's how we all played, or we drew maps on graph paper. Nowadays, you've got computer technology, you've got graphics programs. You can get a map off the internet, draw a map yourself, and start dropping tokens on it and go to town. One of my house rules that varies between online play versus face-to-face play is how I handle critical hits. Just because I haven't found a way to automate it the way we play it face-to-face in the online environment. If we're playing a face-to-face game, a critical hit deals double damage according to the D&D rules. And it's basically, if let's say you're doing a D20's worth of damage, the player rolls it twice and adds them up, and that's the amount of damage that gets done. We play face-to-face with Chris Perkins' critical rule, which is the first dice is already at maximum. So if you're rolling a D10 twice for damage, it's 10 plus the second die roll. Versus online, I don't have that rule automated, so it's still the roll 2 D10s and add them together kind of things. That's kind of our house rule for how we play. Looking at our house rules, it kind of covers all of that. So let's talk about actually getting started playing, and let's go through this kind of together. So in our games, depending on if it's a ongoing campaign or a one-shot, your starting level could vary. Typically for campaigns, I start everybody out at first level. If I'm doing a one-shot, and the one-shot is designed for, say, a party of 4 fifth-level players, then obviously we're going to start with fifth-level players. I usually give them pre-generated characters for that, a whole roster full, and let them choose which one they want to play, or they'll go roll up a character and we'll go that way. Advancement, I am more about less about tracking experience points than I am tracking story achievement. And so your advancement typically is going to come at stages in the story, more than how many things you've killed or how many role-playing situations you've successfully overcome that awarded some type of experience. Again, character creation for our games is going to be either we roll them up or we use pre-generated depending on the setting. And then once they've started the process, they'll pick their race and their class, and there's some limitations there for each of those. Alignment used to be a big thing in the 80s. Good versus evil, law versus chaos, or neutrality. It isn't played as much these days as it was back then. So I don't focus on it as much. But we do take it into account occasionally. And so we'll take a look at how that affects gameplay. Party cohesion is an important thing for us, for having a good playing group. We've got to have a cohesive team. And then finally, party formation. There's some rules in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that I've seen that I like. And I think we're going to start folding those in for new games. Basically, how do they know each other? How do they come together? This kind of goes into the next step, which is backstory creation. It's great to have, or the previous step, backstory creation. Sorry, and that helps explain how do they know each other? How did they come together? The old cliche of you all met at the tavern, is so cliche that it's not even funny. But it's everybody's got to start somewhere. So let's take a look at the character creation process. I'm going to get rid of the getting started session 0 and go to session 01, character creation. I usually have folks start off with the old school step by step. Here's how the rules do it. Fantasy Grounds does allow a wizard, does have a wizard for creating characters. One thing we'll do is, I'll collapse all this down. I've got the character creation piece turned on, so I have a character menu here on the right. So let's just, for kicks and giggles, begin by creating a player character. So here we go. This would normally, I could hit the button and go to the character wizard. Not doing that tonight. We're going to add an item. Okay, here we go. We have a blank character record sheet, which I'm going to move and resize. I usually recommend my folks start out with their race. And one cool thing about Fantasy Grounds that really makes it easier is a lot of the content is drag and drop. So okay, why do I not see? I did not want the sub races. I wanted all the races. There we go. But I'm not seeing any races because they are not shared from the DM side. So let's go. Let me flag and turn some on here. Obviously, we want human. We want tieflings. We want halflings. Yes, I'll allow half orcs. I will allow half elves. I will allow gnomes. I will allow elves. I love me some dwarves. And some dragonborn. So these are all of your classic character races available in the game. There are some additionals and some variants that can come into play, but okay, let's just say, for sake of argument, what am I spinning up tonight? I feel like I want to spin up a spellcaster of some sort. My regular group has a cleric, but they don't have anybody that's like a power mage because they don't have one. You've got your ranger and your rogue with some access to arcane spells, but they're going to be limited in what they can do based on those class choices they've made. They're not going to get to 9th level spell casting capability because they're not a full-blown dedicated spellcaster. Anyways, I'm going to start with an elf. So I'm going to drag elf to race. Okay, what kind of elf do I want to be? You want to be a dark elf, a high elf, or a wood elf? Well, I'm going to be a wood elf. Alright, poof. Notice that immediately filled in dark vision for my senses, and it automatically applied a racial dexterity bonus of +1. Okay, not bad for starting out. It also, perception has not changed. Abilities, okay. I've gotten elf weapon training, or traits, Fey ancestry, keen senses, Mask of the Wild, trance, and I automatically speak Common and Elvish. Just because I drug and dropped that race onto my character sheet, if I'd have typed it in, I would have had to fill all this in manually. This is a case of FGU's automation kicking in and saved me from doing a lot of work. Inventory is pretty empty. Notes, log, actions. Okay. Alright, so we've chosen a race. I have a bonus dexterity of 2, a speed of 30. Why do I have a speed of 35? Okay. Dark vision, advantage against charm, and sleep resistance. Alright. We've chosen our race. Now we want to go back and choose a class. Well, I want to be a spellcaster of some sort to kind of round out this party. So, we're going to go to classes. Again, I've got to share some. We're going to put this over here to the side and kind of stretch it out. Give me just a second because I did not have everything fully turned on. Alright, I want all your base classes from just the player's handbook for tonight. So we're going to turn on Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. Now, outside of the player's handbook, you can go to other source books, and for example, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything unlocks the Artificer as an available character class. If you are using like Xanthar's Guide to Everything, you have some subclasses to Ranger, which is my favorite way to play a Ranger, is with subclasses, as opposed to the straight Ranger from the PHB, because you get into your specializations in Xanthar's, for example, and you build yourself a Gloomstalker Ranger, and he is basically designed to kick ass in the Underdark. You can absolutely wreak havoc in hell on some poor DM's dungeon if they've never encountered a player that plays a Gloomstalker and plays it well. So there's a lot of cool options out there that you can choose from. When you're playing. Alright, so what do I want to be? Sorcerer. Okay. Get you a good class description here. Or if you're like me and having one of those days, the module you're attempting to use is not loaded. Okay, well, I can fix that. Modules. Activation. Now, normally as a DM, this does not have to be loaded, but I'm going to go ahead and load it here on the player side. Okay. So now I should be able to click on the image of the sorcerer. There you go. Billy Badass. I didn't ask how big the room is. I said I cast Fireball. Raw magic, unexplained powers, creating a sorcerer. Okay, this will tell you, okay, when you're starting this out, Where do you want to go? Or do you want to use a quick build? Quick builds allow you to just quick build a sorcerer character based on one of these presets. As a class, gain these features: your hit points, your proficiencies. Now, sorcerers cannot wear armor, therefore they are very squishy. So in a fight, you want your sorcerers in the back of the room. You put your tanks up in the front, your fighters, your rangers, your paladins, your barbarians. You put your mid lane fighters in the middle. Your ranger, your cleric. Sometimes all through, clerics need to go to the front line too. Your rogues, and then you put your squishies in the back. Your sorcerer, your warlock, your wizard. Your druid. Put them in the back of the fight so that they're not getting their behinds handed to them in the first round of combat. And it's especially bad at lower levels. If you're playing a first level sorcerer or warlock or wizard, you are the squishiest one in the room. A dagger can kill you, as opposed to a fighter. He might get stabbed 2 or 3 times at first level before he goes down, but on a bad roll for a dagger strike against one of the magic wielders, yeah, it's not going to end for you. We're probably going to be rolling up a new character unless you just got extremely lucky. Okay, other than sorcerer, okay, warlock. Okay, well, let's grab an image just for kicks and grins. Now, warlocks are different from sorcerers, because sorcerers basically study a lot of stuff to get their powers, whereas a warlock has a patron. It could be a good patron, it could be a bad patron. So you're defining a pact with an otherworldly being to gain your powers. And there may be a cost associated with that pact, or it may be physical or spiritual cost, or it could be, hey, I need you to go to this side of the planet and take care of this problem for me kind of cost. And then your wizard. Your wizard is your scholar of the arcane. Let's see, your sorcerers basically draw their power from themselves, whereas a wizard draws it from the universe. So, for kicks and giggles, I want my dude to be a wizard. And okay, well, what's he gonna? What 2 skills do you want to include with him? Okay, well, Arcana is good because it gives him some knowledge of the arcane, and then these other things give you some additional role-playing capacity as a wizard. So I'm going to choose Arcana. History, Insight, or Investigation. So history is going to be a book knowledge. Insight is going to be a relational knowledge, like when you're interacting with other creatures, non-player characters, monsters that are capable of intelligent conversation, would give you an understanding into why things are the way they are. Whereas investigation, search, perception, all kind of lump in the same. I see investigation as a waste of a skill slot. So that brings it down to history or insight. History, I'm going to go with insight. I think insight's a good addition to my character for a skill set. So now if we go back and look at my character sheet, okay, well, I'm a wizard 1, first level. Yeah, I'm a wood elf. We've not rolled any ability scores yet. You see, these are all 10s with the exception of my dex, which has my +2 elven bonus, and my wisdom, which has a +1 elven bonus. That's a racial bonus. We're going to roll scores here in a minute. Skill wise, okay, I've got Arcana with a +2. I've got Insight already with a +2, so if I would have chosen Insight, it would have given it a +3. So, let's leave it alone. I have perception at a +2, and that's it. Okay. Ability-wise, here's my weapons proficiencies. This is based on my class as a wizard. So these are the weapons I can choose from as a wizard. My class features. My features came from my class. Arcane Recovery. Tells you what it is. You've learned to regain some of your magical energy by studying your spell book. Once per day, when you finish a short rest, you can choose expended spell slots to recover. Alright, so you gain back some. If you've cast all of your level 1 spell slots for the day, you can gain them back after a short rest. Typically, after a long rest, you gain everything back. Okay. Spellcasting features, obviously, because I chose a spellcasting class. Okay, I've got a spell book, I've got cantrips, and then I'm going to have spell slots for based on my level of how many spells I know per level or can expend per level. So at first level, you have a spell book containing 6 first level spells of your choice. Okay, let's go down here to actions real quickly and look at spells. I don't have anything in here. Well, we're going to get to populate this. Okay. Abilities, where we're there. Inventory. Notes. Log. Actions. Actions is cool because you have your spell casting capability here as well as your weapons here. So we will come visit this in a moment. I'm going to delete this new spell blank line that I created on accident. Alright, spell slots. Okay, yeah, I have 6 first level spells, but I only have 2 first level spell slots. Which means, at the start of each day of play, I have to pick which... Well, it used to be this way. I don't think so much anymore. I think you can pick any of your spells, and then you can expend the slot. So, I can cast whatever twice, and then I can't cast anything else until I've rested. Okay. And I think I just accidentally zapped my spellcasting capability. I know I did. Yay! Add power? No, I didn't want to add powers. I'm getting clumsy inside of Fantasy Grounds. Okay, we've got our spell slots. So, we've chosen a race, we've chosen our class, we've got our ability, and we chose our, and now we need to roll up our ability scores, right? So, my method of doing this is typically 4d6, drop the lowest die. So, there's a way to do this here for character creation, but I'm not going to use any of these. I'm going to use an actual chat command to roll the die. I'm going to do /die to tell it I'm rolling a die. 3d6 K3. That tells it I want to roll 3d6 and keep the 3 highest dice rolls. And so this will generate my a dice roll that can be used for a score. Wait a minute. It should have been 4d6 keep 3 /die 4d6 K3. So you'll see one grayed out, right? Okay, so that generated a 9. And then I'm going to do that 5 more times because I have 6 ability scores. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there is an absolute trash roll of a 5 there. Are we trying to get me killed? Honestly, as a DM, I'm gonna tell you to re-roll that 5 because that is a garbage stat. I don't like having players with negative ability modifiers out of the gate. It hampers them, and you're already playing a squishy class to begin with. So, ignoring the 8 because that was a three die roll when it should have been a 4. I have 7 rolls here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to drop that lowest, which is the 5. So that then leaves me a 14, a 13, a 13, a 12, an 11, and a 9. And I'm going to put these in the order of where I want them. Now, time to do a little homework and look at your classes. Again, we chose Wizard. Your Wizard's main ability is going to be Intelligence, Wisdom, one of the stats that is going to be most useful for building this type of character. Everything else is going to be dump stats. Strength I don't care about because he's not meant to get into a slugfest with somebody. So let's just go ahead and dump the 11 into strength. Okay. Now we want a good. He's got a dexterity bonus of +2, so we don't need to get crazy with dexterity. If we put a 12 there, and then he gets his +2 elven bonus, that would make it a 14. Plenty high enough. So we used an 11, we used a 12, right? We have a 14 and 2 13s to use. I'm going to give him a 14 in intelligence. He has a +1 bonus to wisdom because of his race. So I'm going to stick the 13 there and add the +1. So now he has a 14 in wisdom. And then now we have a 13 and a 12 left to use, right? So I'm going to put a 13 in his constitution and a 12 in his charisma. Now you're going to see these little modifier bubbles underneath each of his ability scores. It basically says what that's going to give him in terms of modifies when he has to use a skill based on that ability. So if he has to roll a dexterity save, if it's say a DC 15, he can roll a DC 13 and with that +2 still score a 15. So like if I just click this die or go drag this die over here to roll it, like we're going to roll a dexterity check, you'll see it added in automatically. Well, he got a 4, the +2 added to it, so he rolled a 6. Now if that were a difficulty class of 12, he failed because it was less than a 12. Same thing for Constitution. If I have to run a Constitution check, it's going to add that modifier to the die rolls, that +1. He rolled a 5, +1 got a 6. And thank God we are not in an actual life or death combat situation right now, because I would be sucking on these rolls. A wisdom check. And you'll notice it'll tell you what kind of check it's doing over here. It's doing a wisdom check. He rolled an 11, +2 modifier gave him a 13. I know this is kind of confusing right now what this is doing, but this is basically a saving throw type thing for when he's being targeted by some kind of attack. Typically, if you're doing a Constitution or a Wisdom saving throw, he's under magical attack. If you're doing a Strength or a Dexterity saving throw, he's under physical attack and trying to either overpower something, aka a strength check, or get out of the way of something, like dodge with a dexterity type check. So he has his abilities rolled up. Now, personality and background. I like my players to build a little bit of a story for their players. It's not mandatory. I don't hold a gun to their head and make them do it. But we typically use the method of trait, ideal, bonds, or flaws. Okay, what are your personality traits? What are your ideals? What relationship bonds do you have? What flaws do you have? And so there are tables out there for that. Let's go see if I can find I might have to share it. Okay, so I'm going to pull and share some traits over from the player's handbook. And some of these won't apply because they would apply better to other classes of characters. I've already got one I like, and we're going to drag and drop it over there in just a second. So, D&D is full of tables, and hence that's where all the damn math comes from that everybody always poo-poos it as a nerd's game. But you've got your tables, and let's see. I've got those shared over. Why are they not showing up over here? Here they are. So we're going to pull them from backgrounds. And then that should pull over their personality traits. Since I am a wizard, I want a sage background. So we're going to drag and drop sage to his background position. Alright, you'll notice over here in the chat box it did some things to me. Background sage added. Feature researcher added. Skill arcana added. Skill history added. Language, 2 of your choice added. Okay. So I need to go mod my languages here in a minute. Skill wise, it should have added an arcana. My arcana is now +4. And I should have picked up a history. Again, there's a +4. So now we need to go to languages. Common, Elvish, and 2 of your choice. Alright. What do I want for languages? Well, you know, if you're going to be dealing with never-do-wells, it helps if you can speak their tongue. So I'm going to go dark and give him both access to the infernal and the abyssal languages. That way, if he has to square off with something from either one of those planes of existence, he can piss it off in its own tongue. How's that for thinking it through? Alright, feats. PHB feats. I don't think we're going to add any feats at this point. I'm trying to get it to where I don't have to scroll. There we go. So these will come later as he levels up. He will get some of these. For example, he might get Ritual Caster, which gives him the ability to cast spells, some additional spell casting capability. Or Spell Sniper. Spell Sniper doubles your attack range on spells that have a range. And then it ignores half cover and 3/4 cover on the target. So if they're hiding behind cover, which would normally cause you to attack with a disadvantage, then all of a sudden your disadvantage is no longer a disadvantage. It just nullifies it. So there you go. Wisdom for Cleric or Druid. So Wizard's prime ability score is Intelligence. Did I dump one of my highest stats into Intelligence? Yes, I did. So good for me. Alright. Trait, ideal, bond, and flaw. Let's see. We have some ideals available to us from the player's handbook. In this case, because we chose a sage, let's see. I'm going to share these over. What do you think would be a good ideal for a wizard? I don't know, maybe a hermit. Doesn't want to be around others. There is a sage ideal here. So let's see what that does. Sage ideal. We're going to roll a die. I'm going to roll a die as a DM. You'll see it pop up in your chat. Sage ideal, self-improvement. The goal of a life of study is the betterment of oneself. So that's going to be his ideal. Here's the cool part. We can drag it over here and just drop it on him. Okay. Determine the nature of your scholarly training. So here you go. This is where we can basically, from this sage background, we can gain access to all of these. I prefer to let players roll their own. That roll was just us getting in here. So personality trait. Here's the table for personality traits. I can pick one or I can roll a dice if I can't decide. So let's just roll a dice. There's nothing I like more than a good mystery. Okay, I'm good with that. Okay. What is his bond? Okay, as a sage, here's the table. Pick or roll. I usually roll because it makes for some more interesting stuff, unless it doesn't. I have an ancient text that holds terrible secrets that must not fall into the wrong hands. That's dark. I love it. Okay. And as a sage, what is my flaw? So you can see this becomes a whole lot easier to generate a character. Character generation for session 0 is usually a 1 to 2 hour event, depending on how many people you have sitting at the table. This automation makes it go so much quicker. Most people scream and run when they see a demon. I stop and take notes on its anatomy. Oh, what's this? Oh, it looks like a penis, only smaller. Yeah, and this is why my stream has an adult rating. Okay, so I've got my traits, my ideals, my bonds, my flaws. I don't have an appearance yet. Alignment, I'm going for chaotic good. That doesn't mean I've got to be good all the time. And it doesn't mean I need to be a rigid stick-up-my-ass goody-two-shoes. Those are lawful good. So, chaotic good is good enough for me. Male high wood elf. We'll figure out we'll make up. Let's see. We're going to go with a weight of 170. And since I am an elf, we're going to go with a nice 6'4" height. And we're going to make me 67 years old because elves live longer than humans. I still don't have a name for this dude yet. We'll name him in a minute. We need to inventory him in a minute. So we need to choose equipment. Okay, so 2 ways to get starting funds. Or actually, the way I do it is we're going to roll for starting funds, and then we're going to assign a base equipment package. So as a sorcerer, wizard, or warlock, we get 4d4 times 10. So I'm going to right-click on the d4 and do 4x. Drop it in the chat. And he's going to start with 90 gold. Okay, let's drop that in here. That will be relevant in a minute, because when we go to equip him, we're going to be spending that money real fast. Let's name this dude. We're going with Darren Wildenholt. There we go. Wildenholt is a nice wood elf name. Leave it alone. Alright, base equipment packages. Again, automation is key. Makes my life so much easier. So, how do I have sorcerer? There should be an equipment package in here. One D6, so we got to roll a hit die too. But first, let's go get our equipment. Creating a sorcerer, quick build, background. We did not go with the hermit background. We went with the sage background. Okay. Starting equipment. Here you go. You start with the following equipment in addition to the equipment granted by your background. Which, I guess I need to go back to Sage to look at his equipment. What equipment does a Sage get? Okay. Sage specialty. I guess we didn't roll that. We need to do that. Sage specialty, alchemist. Where do we put that? Where does it go? I would think it would go here. Let's drag and drop. Okay. So we are an alchemist. We did these. What is the feature for a researcher? Oh, here's his equipment right here. We're going to add researcher in here to features. Oh, it's already there. Okay. I'm over automating. Alright, equipment. Now here's where it's messy because I can't drag and drop what's on this equipment list. I've got to go over to items and drag it over here little by little, which makes it a pain in the backside. Alright, well, he gets ink and a quill. So we're just going to do a search for ink. That should give us ink and a pen. Okay, good enough. We'll take it. I'm going to drag the ink. I'm going to drag the pen. Okay. And then a small knife. Bless you. And then a letter from a dead colleague. Okay. And a belt pouch. So it's just listed as a pouch. And then the weird item is going to be a letter from a dead colleague, which I can't copy and paste. A letter from a dead colleague posing a question you have not been able to answer. Okay. Clothes. So we will just drop clothes on him. Common. Alright. So, base is built, right? That's his basic equipment. Now we need to equip. Here we go. Now, as a DM, I've got some automation built on my side that will make this easier. If I can see it, which it doesn't look like I can. Let me go over here and share it. Tables. D&D Player's Handbook. There should be my custom tables. Or items. Wait a minute. Parcels. Here we go. I built parcels. So, you see I have parcels built for different character classes. You have a burglar's equipment pack, diplomats, dungeoneers, entertainers, explorers, priests, scholar, and then I have some supplementals. A forgery kit, a gaming set, a herbalism kit, or a poisoner's kit. So depending on what kind of character my player is wanting to build, I've got it set up so that they can fast drop these things onto their character sheet, and it will flesh them out with a set of packages. Now you'll see I have the cost of said packages here. We're going to deduct that from how much gold Darren has when we drop it on him. So little manual math, not mystery math or automagic math. So we're going to give him the Scholar's Equipment Pack. I'm going to drop it on him. Boom. It just added some stuff to him. And that was 40 gold pieces. So we're going to reduce me down to 50 gold. So that gave me a backpack, a bag of sand, a bedroll, a book of lore, and some parchment. So 10 pieces of parchment. Now, I don't need 2 ink pens and 2 ink bottles. Although, well, the ink bottles won't hurt. Let's drop him down to 1 ink pen, 1 small knife, because there were some duplicates between there. And that will flesh out his equipment. Believe it or not, Darren is ready to go adventuring. So at this point, I would have a small adventure built that we would take Darren on to get used to going with him. Actually, we don't have any weapons yet, I don't think. Did it put weapons on me? No, we did not buy weapons. Okay. That is always player choice. Player choice equips equipment of that type. So we have to go back and choose weapons. Which means dummy me needs to go back and choose his background again, because we need to go find his available weapons. Where is it? There's his equipment. It's not under background. Was it under wizard? Here we go. Equipment. And I think I covered up my items table. So we need to move some windows around here. Here we go. Alright, items he can have. Quarterstaff or dagger. Component pouch or arcane focus. Scholar's pack. No, this does not have... Oh yeah, here we go. Weapons. Daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaff, light crossbows. Well, being a wizard and being at the back of the battle, he needs the light crossbow for starters. So, let's do this. We're going to go back to his inventory tab, and we're going to go crossbow. We want a light crossbow. Alright, so now he has a light crossbow in his inventory. But, and it is equipped, so now if I go to his actions tab, there's his crossbow. He gets a +4 on the attack. It's going to do 1d8 plus 2 points for piercing damage. Now, he needs some ammo. Crossbow bolts, 20. So let's go ahead and give him 20 crossbow bolts. We're going to tick all of these, and as he uses them, it will untick them. And when it unticks all of them, he's out of ammo. Right? Alright, for close-in fighting, we need choose another weapon, either a dagger or a quarterstaff. Okay, dagger. Dagger's going to do 1d4 piercing. Quarterstaff's going to do 1d6 bludgeoning. So believe it or not, I think I would rather have the staff to whack somebody on the head than the dagger to stab them with. There's nothing to say that he can't have both, but he can't use both at the same time, obviously. Let's drop... let's get equipment back here. Inventory, quarterstaff, equipped. Okay, so now if we look at his actions, he has two different attacks. He has a crossbow that he gets a +4 on, or a quarterstaff he gets a +2 on. Are you going to bet I'm going to equip him with a dagger too? Yes, because sometimes you need to stab stuff. Hitting it on the head ain't going to help. So let's give him a dagger and put it in his inventory. Now, we're just going to put it in carried. It's going to be at his belt. If he needs to change weapons, he will alternate the quarterstaff for the dagger. Light crossbow is a one-handed weapon, so he can dual wield, but he can only attack with one. He only has one attack per turn, so he's either going to shoot you with a crossbow, or he's going to hit you with a quarterstaff, or he's going to shoot you with a crossbow and stab you with a dagger. So that's his weapons. All right. Darts, slings. Yeah, darts are kind of useless. Let's just by way of comparison, so we can say we looked at it. What does a dart do? 1d4 piercing. Okay. And then a sling is going to be more of a ranged weapon. Sling is going to do 1d4 bludgeoning with a sling bullet. So, but then again, you have to carry ammo for that too. I like the light crossbow because it does more damage. So, I'm not swapping out a crossbow for a sling. It's just not happening. Let's move his character sheet up a little bit so that we have this below here. Alright. There is some other equipment he has listed here. You start with the following equipment in addition to the equipment granted to your background. Okay, well, he got a pouch from someplace else. Okay, he got a book of lore, a spell book. So he needs a spell book in his inventory. Can't be a wizard without one. Okay. And he did the quarterstaff and the light crossbow instead of doing the quarterstaff and a dagger. Actually, he has both. Just because I'm going to equip him with both. We're going to knock down his gold to 45 gold for the cost of those things. We gave him a scholar's pack earlier. So, at this point, arcane traditions. Don't think these come in until later. I'll have to look. What's common? We're going to leave this alone. Let's look at it though. School of Abjuration, emphasize magic that blocks, banishes, or protects. See, the problem with locking yourself into a school is it will cause chaos. So, you want School of Transmutation, modifying energy and matter. Okay. I said I cast Fireball. That's all I'm sticking to. So as a first level spell caster, he gets 2 first level spell slots. Now, his first level spells He was allowed, what, 6? Okay, let me double check that. Gotta double check myself. And see what we're gonna get. So if I remember correctly, based on his intelligence, he got 6 spells. First level, we're going to know 3 cantrips. Okay. Let's go look at spell casting. At level 1. You have a spell book containing spells that show the first glimmerings of your power. Chapter 10 for the rules. Chapter 11 for the wizard spells. Okay, so we got 3 cantrips that he needs to get. Let's go grab some spells and see what 3 cantrips we are going to go with. That's a level 0 spell, right? Okay. I want Eldritch Blast right out of the gate because it scales up as you level up. So let's look at that so you get an understanding. You can cast this in 1 action. It has a range of 120 feet. It's instantaneous. Beam of energy. Make a ranged spell attack against the target, which means you have to roll to hit for the spell. Takes 1d10 force damage. The spell creates more than 1 beam when you reach higher levels. So when I get to 5th level, it's going to do 2 beams and 2d10 of damage. And then you can target 1 or multiple with the multiple beams. So, Eldritch Blast it is. It's going to be one of his cantrips. And he gets 3 cantrips, right? Firebolt seems to be a popular one with my players. You hurl a mote of fire at a creature or object within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. So you have to roll to attack. Target takes 1d10. Flammable object hit by this spell ignites if it isn't being worn or carried. Increases by 1d10 when you reach 5th level. Again, 11th and 17th level. Okay. Firebolt. Is it telling me I can't have Eldritch Blast because I'm not a warlock? Maybe so. Let's switch it to wizard. Yeah, we got to take Eldritch Blast off the list. Damn it, Janet. Okay, well, we got Firebolt. Okay, Light and Mage Hand. Or Mending. So, Shocking Grasp. I don't want to be that close to be fighting something. Shocking Grasp might be a good backup during a hand-to-hand attack as a cantrip. And then Mage Hand is kind of useless. You can control the hand. It can do basic functions. Can't do anything more than 10 pounds. Yeah, I think Poison Spray, being a ranged attack. Extend your hand towards a creature you can see within range, 10 feet. Noxious gas from your palm. But that's only going to work against creatures that can handle, that don't have poison resistance. Prestidigitation is just a minor nuisance. Blade Ward. This could be good as a protective. So we're going to Blade Ward ourselves as our third cantrip. So there's his 3 cantrips he's allowed. Okay. At first level, you have a spell book containing 6 first level spells of your choice. Okay, so now we need 6 first level spells, of which he can only cast 2 without a rest. Alright, what do we want? But this is giving you a good idea of the mechanics of character creation, so you can see what it takes to create a character. And obviously I wouldn't take this long doing it, but since I'm explaining it as we go, it takes a little longer. Let's see. Let's drag this up here where I can see more first level spells at once, because there's a bunch of them. Witch Bolt catches my eye. Basically a lightning target. 1d12 lightning damage. Yes, I like it. So Witch Bolt is going to be one of his 6 first level spells. Okay. Shield is always a good defensive spell. Magic Missile's pretty much useless. 3 glowing darts. Each dart hits a creature of your choice that you can see within range. But see, the nice thing about this, you don't have to roll an attack for this. And it will create more darts at higher levels. You know what? I'm going to Magic Missile somebody's ass. Okay, so there's 3 first level spells. I'm allowed 3 more first level spells. I want... You know, mages sometimes have to escape. 20-foot radius sphere of fog. So it's nice to have some defensive spells. Fog Cloud is my number 4. Right. So I need 2 more first level spells. Identify. It's great for identifying unknown magic items. That's a good utility spell to have. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait a minute. I thought I had more than that. Fog Cloud. Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I get 1 more 5th level spell. Or first level spell. Okay. Thunder Wave has a short range. 15-foot cube from you. Hope none of your friends are in your way. Thunderous Boom. Only bad thing about this, you cast this bad boy in a dungeon, and everything in the dungeon now knows you're here. Alright. I think Darren has enough spells. So now, let's run through some kicks and giggle stuff. At this point, you've got a character created. You want to go play. So let me grab a map of some sort here. We just want something basic. We don't want Tomb of Annihilation, which would annihilate my little first level squishy wizard. Maybe something from the DMG. Give me just a second. This is where you want to have a little 5x5 dungeon built for your session zeros. You want to be able to take your players on a short adventure, but they've already been building for 2 hours. So you want a short, small dungeon that their whole job is to just clean it out. Let's do this. Let's go map 8. Let's share this over with us. Okay. We're going to zoom this in. Make it nice and big. And drop our dude on it. Alright, I want it bigger than that. We're going to zoom in, zoom in. Will it let me pan? There we go. Let's put Darren on the deck, shall we? Oh, you know what? Darren doesn't have a photo. He's just going to be a little blob, a little token. Let's fix that. He needs a picture. He's an elf. A wood elf. Let's see, fantasy portraits. Like any of those. FG fantasy. Come on. Probably should have just went to the portraits folder. But it's taken a second to load. There we go. Elf female. Elf male. He's a sorcerer. Let's go with that. Okay. So now we have a picture for Darren. So I'm good with that. Let's drop Darren on the deck. And let's put him over here by the cargo hold. Now let's say we got some baddies trying to board, huh? So I'm going to throw some low-level scum of the seas up on here. Alright. And I shouldn't have closed my map, damn it. So, combat tracker. I'm going to throw a Sahagin on here. Oh, this has got everybody on it. Why do I not have Darren on here? I can't drop Darren on here. Okay, well, we'll play with my player characters, people. Let's remove him off of here. And let's drop 3 Sahagin on here. And I want to show everybody. We're going to put Felonious. Oh, because I'm not Felonious, I can't drop him on the map. Alright, well. So, damn it, one of the things I wanted to do is confused because I have, oops, my players loaded. I wanted to show the party tracker. Can I put myself on here? It's not going to let me. Oh, it'll let me get into the formation. So this is good for showing combat order or campfire watch or whatever. And then let's drop him on here like he's going to be able to do something. But the combat tracker will show you your friendlies and your foes, and it'll give you a kind of a view of their injury, if they're injured. For the bad guys, it's not going to show you full stats. Let me go ahead and drop a Sahagin and a Sahagin Baron on here and show them. So all you see is, hey, they're healthy. So normally you're going to have players roll their initiative. In this case, I'm going to roll initiative. And that's going to determine the combat order. So now they have their combat order. We can see Jude rolled the highest initiative. He's going to go first. Felonious, Flask of Wine, which is one of their feline companions. And then the Sahagin and the Sahagin Baron's going to go. And then Graham Merle Flintrum, River Mist, Furby, which is Matt's character, not me. And yes, we are related. And then Ice, their party paladin. So Jude would pull up his character sheet. Which it doesn't look like it's going to let me, because yes, he's not owned by me. Can I release him for just a moment? Party character players. I have to temporarily clear, I think, the owners. Let's clear Jude. Okay. Now let's see if I can pull up. Okay, so I can seize Jude now. Jude's going to pull up his character sheet, go to his action tab. And he's going to decide, do I want to attack with dagger, or do I want to attack with, and here he has melee or thrown, so you can throw the dagger. Or do I want to attack with my rapier or my short bow? And he can attack with one of these just by double clicking. And it will roll the attack. But who's he targeting? He hasn't specified a target. So he would have to specify a target up here. I'm going to close and reopen the combat tracker because now I'm Jude. Okay. Jude would normally pick his target. He's going to target the Sahagin Baron. Okay. Notice it says it's targeting him. And now he's going to take a shot at him, let's say, with the short bow. An 11. Should have hit. Why did it not roll the damages? Okay, so let's roll the damage. (1d6 plus 3). Now you see the Sahagin Baron status changed to wounded because it subtracted that 3 plus 3 or 6 points of damage from his hit point pool. And so this is how combat is automated in Fantasy Grounds. Now, if he wanted to do something a little more fun, let's say he wanted to throw a firebolt at him, or better yet, a witch bolt. He's going to just roll it. Oh, that's a nat 20. Double damage to hit, but he only rolled a 1. So that sucks. Why can't it have done more damage? I'd like to see a 20 and then show double damage. 17's good, but that did 21 points of damage. So, much more of a hit than what we were showing now. Okay, so on my side, I can see that the Sahagin Baron is taking more damage. Okay, got to roll the damage roll. Five points of damage. I want something that's going to do a hell of a lot more damage. Let's go Chromatic Orb. Now, yes, I'm taking more turns than he normally would be allowed. Let's do fire damage, which against a Sagin should be significant because he's a water-based creature. So 13 points of fire damage. So, and then when Jude's turn is over, it moves down to the next player in the combat. So, in this case, now it's Felonius's turn. Alright, so Felonius, who I don't have possession of right now. Give me just a second. Characters. We're going to borrow him. Let me go back to characters, and I'm going to grab Felonius. Okay, now I have Felonius's character sheet. Now, Felonius, they jokingly call their Power Ranger because he does have some power. He packs a wallop when he targets an enemy. Let's target... Okay, so we've got a little bug where it's not letting me have them target their own targets. So I'll target the regular Sahagin. Alright. What's Felonius going to attack with? Let's hit him with the longbow. Oh, I didn't bother to actually roll. There we go. Oh, a 20, a critical hit. Critical hit. It's going to roll 2d8 plus 3 because it was critical damage. 10 points of damage to the other Sahagin. And so you can see now he's wounded. And this would go on, and they would continue through each player's turn. Now it would be Flask of Wine's turn. Let's say it's the Sahagin's turn. He's going to do an attack. Okay, well, I didn't put him on the deck, but we're going to just go ahead and throw a spear attack at, let's say he's going to target Felonius. Alright, spear attack against Felonius. He misses. Alright. He tries the second time. He hits. Critical hit. Alright. He rolled a 6 on the critical hit effect table. So he's going to gain combat advantage against all enemies on the battlefield until the end of your next turn. Okay. And then he's going to roll his damage. Double damage, 6 points. You can see Felonius is lightly wounded. You can see on his character sheet, he now has 6 points in his wounded hit points out of his max of 120. He's not hurt. And then we would go to the Sahagin Baron's turn. Let's say the Sahagin Baron is going to target Flask of Wine for a trident attack. And he rolls a 24. Okay. And so Flask of Wine takes 13 points of damage. You can see that in the wounded column here. The 13 out of his total of 40. So that's kind of combat in a nutshell, including a little bit of spell casting as well as a little bit of melee and ranged combat. Wanted you to see how both of those work. So it's really kind of heavily automated. Heavily being a good thing in this case. It takes a lot of the paperwork out of playing Dungeons and Dragons the old school way. It's still fun to do that though, so we do that quite a bit. So tutorial wise for Fantasy Grounds, that's kind of it for the combat tracker. We will go through this player by player, round by round, until either enemies are destroyed, enemies are captured, or enemies have fled. You don't have to kill everything you run into. You can parlay, you can negotiate, you can intimidate. There's a whole raft of things we didn't talk about as players can do. Let's take a look at a good example at Felonius' skills. He has intimidation as a skill. And so he can roll an intimidation check against a enemy to see if he can intimidate them into fleeing. Or if he were in a situation where he were in the woods or in a city and he needed to hide from the goblin patrol or the guard patrol, he could roll a stealth check. And so his stealth check would be balanced out by their perception check. Whoever has the higher score, and that's what you would call opposing skill checks. If his stealth score that he rolls, when he rolls the dice, is higher than, say, the guards or the goblin score, and see he has a penalty because he's in armor, then he would, if his score is higher, then he successfully hides from the goblins or the guards. If his score is lower, somebody has spotted him, and now a fight's going to break out. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It gives you an idea how combat works, or how skill checks work. Abilities, a lot of these are specialization. You know, with him being a ranger, he has an extra attack and a favorite enemy that he's going to gain different bonuses on against those enemies and in that particular situation. Inventory wise, well, we see he's got a dice set, so he's a little bit of a gambler. He does have a healing potion in his inventory, and he does have some scale mail. Doesn't have a whole lot in his inventory, but hey, you know what? He's part of a party too, so. Let's take a look at my fighter that I've rolled up. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot of this backed up either, but we could go through and flesh him out. Oh, nope, I take that back. I did flesh him out. So, his armor proficiencies and his weapon proficiencies are there. His traits, his features, a lot of that's already there. His inventory. And you see, weapons-wise, he's carrying a dagger and a short bow. But that's kind of the nickel tour of Fantasy Grounds. This is 80% of what you're going to do in a game. I've shown you tonight. The other 20% we'll save for another time. One thing you may notice or not notice is, you know, on the stream there's a black line at the bottom of the screen. That is a color block filter I've put in because I have function keys assigned. So I'm going to unhide it and you can see it. Now on the player side, I might use this to like drop an initiative set there where I can just click that function key and roll initiative. On the DM side, I use it to stage a lot of resources. Like I'll stage maps and tables and images and encounters into the function keys. And that's why they're hidden, is because if I'm ever streaming from my DM side view, I don't want anybody to see my staged keys. So I have a little black mask in my stream turning that off. And that's just to hide some of the stuff I have on my side from being visible in the stream. Even though right now I'm streaming from a player's session on a different machine. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. That kind of wraps up our stream for the night too. But I hope you learned a lot. If you're interested in playing, or if you're interested in, creating a character and then playing, definitely hit me up. Either on my Facebook site page for Husky House RPGs, also on Twitter, Instagram. Excuse me, and we have our own website, so huskyhouserpgs.com. So you can check us out at any of those locations, communicate to us. We definitely are putting together another player group for playing more than we are currently. But I felt tonight would be a great time to do a Fantasy Grounds tour and give everybody a good peek at what things behind the DM screen looks like. So, as always, if you like what you see, hit that follow button, turn on those notifications so you get notified when we go live, and that way you can tune in when we're out here. We also post our videos to YouTube, to our YouTube page, as well as to Facebook as well. So, if you don't catch us in one place, you can catch us in one of the others. Other than that, have a great rest of your evening. Happy adventuring, and hopefully we will see you next time. Good night.
Mic off. Charging battery.